Suddenly I lost my screen. Okay. Yeah.
That's all right. It still hasn't counted down yet.
Oh, we're live.
It's,
According to the information, we're live.
okay. Good evening, everyone. Oh, should I say good afternoon? My name's Annette, and I'm here on Barbados Welcome Stamp. We're doing a live episode today, and we're just going to sort of go through a few questions. And if you have any questions which you want to ask, just feel free to get in touch with us on Facebook. This is a live this today. So, and I'm here with the wonderful Sarah. Sarah is from Barbados Welcome Stamp. She is amazing. She's a mine of information. She's well, the thing is, if there's anything that she can't answer,
I'm blushing, Annette. Thank
yes.
you.
If there's anything that she can't answer, she will get back to you and she will find out for you. So she will find out information as much as she can. But thank you all for being here. And the other thing that I want to say is that, we have about 2,500 people in the Barbados Welcome Stamp here, and they're all following us and all with us. And I want to thank you all for being there as well. But let's get this started here in terms of some of the questions. Now, in terms of some of the questions, now this is a really difficult one because a lot of people are talking about welcome stamps. They have lots of questions. As short as you can, Sarah, tell us what is the Barbados Welcome Stamp. What is it?
So, an initiative that started, we've spoken about this on our first two programs, but it's always good to understand that it was an initiative, if I can speak today, get my words out, that allows people to come and work remotely in Barbados. By remotely, we have people that are called themselves digital nomads. They work online. You may work for some company in London or in New York or Dubai or whatever, and you can work anywhere because basically, effectively, you're working on your computer. You're working remotely. You're working from your couch. Wherever you want to work. So what the Barbados tourism industry has done, the government has put into effect this welcome stamp that allows you to apply for a visa. It's different than just a regular. It's different than just a regular visa or a tourist visa. In fact, when you come into anywhere in the world on a tourist visa, you technically are not allowed to work. That's kind of an anomaly right now because a lot of people do work online, and when they go on holiday, they have their phones and they're texting and messaging and doing some work. But in this particular case, for the welcome stamp, people are coming in, they're applying, they're coming into Barbados. A single individual, a family might just be a couple or a couple with children. They're coming in, they're able to apply. There are some basic situations. You need to be making a set amount of money minimum. $50,000 US minimum is what your income should be. There is a charge of, I believe it's $2,000 for single and $3,000 for a family, which would mean a couple and children, or a couple or children. And you go through that process and you come to Barbados and you're part of the local flavor, and effectively it's helping our economy by you being here.
Excellent. Thanks, Sarah. You summed up very well for us. Now, in light of what's going on at the moment, can people still come and work in Barbados? Because there's a lot of people are saying that when they want to come to Barbados, certain countries are restricting you to coming to Barbados, but can you come to Barbados with regards to work? If you can actually broaden that one out a bit. So if you're coming to Barbados on a welcome stamp, that is still able to do that, are you?
Right. To be perfectly honest with you, I am taking this information from others. So I'm taking information from people who've come from those countries. Now, the U.S. hasn't said you cannot travel. Technically, Canada hasn't quite yet said you cannot travel. However, they'd rather you not. But the word I get is that Canada is a democratic society and you can't not let me go. England is in complete lockdown. People have said that they can't, you aren't allowed leisure travel. But from what is understood is that you're relocating for work effectively.
Yeah.
And you can prove what you have is something, I guess, in your hand or your phone or whatever that says you've been given this opportunity. You're not. One of the things I need to explain with the welcome stamp is it doesn't actually give you the right to what I call physically work in Barbados. You cannot wait tables. You cannot teach a yoga class. You cannot sell food for cooking for dinner. You cannot go to work for the local hardware store. You can't teach swimming lessons. I mean, there's a broad range, but basically, effectively, you cannot be paid in Barbados for a service rendered in Barbados on a welcome stamp, because that's not you lose the body of the reason that they've asked people to come by doing that. You're also at that point taking away from a Barbadian when you do that as well. And we don't want that to happen. So effectively, you're moving from England, you're flying to Barbados, and you're relocating. And when I say relocating, there's people who are coming here for a year. So they're bringing their wardrobes and their equipment. They're asking many questions on the Welcome Stamp Facebook group about, has anybody ever packed a 25-inch monitor? I have a 23-inch monitor sitting beside me. That might work. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, sure, I could probably stick that in a suitcase, wrap it in some bubble wrap, stick some clothes around it, and I think I'd be okay. But anything bigger than that, if it doesn't fit in your suitcase, you're going to have to put it in a box, and you may or may not be able to bring it. But what I have read and what has been said is that you're relocating.
Yes, I think that's really something very well. Thank you, Sarah. That you are relocating, and you are relocating for work, digitally relocating, and that's fine. That actually makes it a lot clearer. So I need to say now that if you wish to join today's discussion, please contact the producer via the WhatsApp, and I'll give you that number. That number is +1246 831 1960. I'll repeat that number. It's +1246 831 1960. Yeah, I'd love you to come and join us if you've got any questions, any queries, or even if you just want to tell us how you're getting on as well. That will be absolutely fantastic. So, Sarah, oh dear. One of the questions which is coming up here, which has come up, is about multiple applications for the welcome stamp. First of all, we take it in two stages here. If somebody is in a company and there's more than one or two people in that company who want to relocate here, do they have to have individual applications?
Yes, I would have to say so, yes. Because you're applying as an individual. You're not necessarily applying as a company.
Right.
And really, quite frankly, you should have permission. You should be asking that's one of the other things we have a myriad of other questions that come out of these regular questions. But yes, I finally convinced my boss to allow me to fly to Barbados and live there for 6 months and work. And then the guy across the hall wants to do the exact same thing, and the boss says, "Sure, okay." It's a second. This is not the company working. This is you as the individual working. one question I will go ahead and answer as part of that as well is that when while you're working in Barbados, you're not paying taxes because you're not getting paid. Technically, you're not getting paid in Barbados. You're physically working here. You're working for your business, but you're not. Your pay is still your pay with the company that you're working for. I will go out on a limb and say, let's just suppose now I'm gonna use this. I have somebody I know in Montreal. Now, granted, she's a Bajan, so it doesn't really apply to her, but she's a fitness instructor. And among things, she does things online. She has her own business in Montreal. She does various things. Let's say that she decided to come. Let's say she wasn't Barbadian, and she decided to come to Barbados, and she was doing her business. She was going to the beach and doing her videos and showing people how to do yoga on the beach and that kind of thing. There's, to me, that's semi sort of a gray area, but it's not really, because what she's actually doing is she's projecting that to the world. Her business, her actual business is taking place owned and operated out of Montreal. It doesn't matter that she's here doing it on a beach. People do this all the time. If people are joining her website and being a part of her exercise and wellness program, they're paying her. It's through her business there. So there's some, there could be some gray areas in some of these. Some of these are not quite as cut and dry, but nothing in this life is really that cut and dry. So.
Well, that sounds fair enough to me. I mean, and when I think you get into those situations, you can actually ask and find out a bit more as well, just to investigate what the situation is. But as I was saying about this multiple applications, say, for example, you have this scenario whereby you have a family, a husband and wife. The husband is the main source of income. The wife is still is coming along as well, and you also have kids. Say, like, let's deal with husband and wife. So one is actually working remotely, and the other one isn't. Is there any sort of complications there if, say, like, the other one wants to work within Barbados at the time?
The welcome stamp would cover both the husband and wife.
Right.
But as a welcome stamp individual in Barbados, for example, the wife or the husband, whoever's not on the stamp, would not be allowed to work in Barbados. That would be that's a whole nother scenario. So the wife is here lounging on the beach, getting her own. It's possible maybe she's working online as well, but she may have to apply. I don't know that I don't think I've seen that question. Let's suppose there's a couple who works online from home. She at one company, he at another. What do they do?
That's the next question.
That's an interesting scenario. I don't think we've broached that one yet, but maybe if there's somebody within the welcome stamp group that has that sort of situation or scenario where there are two people, how did you apply? How did you get here?
I'd be very interested, because I'm actually in that personal position as well. My husband we want to come out to Barbados. I want to work out in Barbados because my work can be done online and his work can be done online, and we want to come out as a couple, kind of thing. So we need to check out what the situation. Would that be two individual applications?
I actually don't think so. I believe the application would be, I would have to say one, but I think maybe we need to verify that.
We get a little bit more clarification on that.
Someone who's in that situation. If not, I don't have a problem asking the question, of course, but I'm pretty sure that it would be. I think the scenario that I was going for were two separate individuals working for one company, not as a family unit, and each one wanting to come. That would, to me, in my mind, that's two separate.
Right.
A family, a husband and wife, I don't think I think the welcome stamp would probably cover both, working, regardless if it was for the same company or different companies, working remotely in Barbados. In fact, I'm almost, now that I think about it, I believe there was a couple from New York that were one of the first, just this is just memory, one of the first couples to come, and they were each doing their own, they were each working remotely, but as a couple, they were coming to Barbados. So I believe they probably only did one application, one payment, came in under the family status. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Now, the other thing I'm going to lose to is that once you have the welcome stamp and the way things are going, is it possible to extend that at all?
It is. The welcome stamp itself is valid for a year.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are only taking 3 months and 6 months and 8 months, whatever. You can reapply.
Right.
Somewhere in the back of my brain, I remember seeing that you could only reapply once. That
Right.
I will verify that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that yes, I don't see any reason why you couldn't reapply.
Mm-hmm.
Let me add to that question that we've had it before, where people have said, do you think that once COVID has gone away, which would be lovely, but I'm not counting on it anytime soon, that that this is something that's here to stay, at least for the moment, So,
Well, bearing in mind that, I mean, here in the UK, we're a little bit ahead of you in terms of what's going on in terms of COVID. And it does look as if we're in for the long haul, kind of thing. So a year is absolutely a very short period of time. And so, if you wanted to extend it, that would be possible to look into that in terms of extending it, is it?
Yeah, people. Yes, there can be the extension, and the Barbados government is. I don't believe they're shutting it down at the end of this year. This is an ongoing process. So
okay, that's lovely.
It's a benefit. It's a benefit, and even if so, I mean, I think it brings people in, brings a whole nother level of people into Barbados. There's all sorts of people that want to come. If they can come and work even for 4 or 6 months, they will. So.
Yeah. The other thing that I'd like to ask you on the back of that, apart from the extension, what's the situation if people want to go in and out of the country, in and out of Barbados? Is there any kind of restrictions in that respect?
I'll just jump right in there and say no. That is the actual beauty of this particular welcome stamp. On a tourist visa, there's some question about the tourist visa and being able to what am I trying to say here? Pick up and leave at the end of your 30 days or 28 days or 60 days, whatever it is, and come back. There is a thing that you can do. You can leave and you can fly somewhere else and you can come back and do another tourist visa for 28 days or 30 days or 60 days or whatever it is. Technically, as I said previously, just like with any other country in the world, technically on a tourist visa, you're not really allowed to work. Again, we're in a digital nomad kind of situation where people move around. Who's going to care that I might have a business somewhere else and I'm sitting on my computer working my business sitting on the sand in Barbados? I'm not selling it to anybody here. I'm not promoting it to anybody here. I'm not taking any money away from anybody here. I'm doing everything I'm doing online. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, but because this is really quite important, because sometimes you may in your business have to go back to a particular country or go to a country, so there won't be any restrictions coming in and out as long as your visa covers that time or that period. You'll be able to come in.
The welcome stamp actually is really great, especially in that particular case, where if you do have to actually do a face-to-face meeting, or which is would be kind of odd, but anyway, in these days it would be. But I think if for whatever reason you had to go back, the ability to come back without question is not an issue. That's all built in. There are several initiatives built into the welcome stamp. Right.
Well, that
So
leads
that,
me on to, that leads me on to my next question in terms of employment, actually, because with the welcome stamp, you have made it quite clear that it's as long as you are digitally working in Barbados and not working, taking employment from people who are in Barbados. What happens, for example, it may not be a scenario, but it is possibility, and it's the reason I'm talking like this is that it's actually happening in the UK. Is that within a couple of days you could be made redundant from, or you may lose employment from the company that you're with. I mean, these are facts which actually do happen. You know, therefore you're actually in Barbados. And is it possible for you then to apply for work in Barbados if that scenario was there, or would you have to leave?
You couldn't. Let me speak to the immigration laws as I know them to be. Unless you are a Barbadian, unless you are a citizen of the island or a CARICOM citizen with the proper documentation, unless you are someone who is employed by a local company with what they call a work permit. The work permit is something that has to be, it's a process that goes through with the government. A company has to apply for a work permit for a particular individual. It is the company's work permit to hire someone that is not a Barbadian. So you could be here, you could lose your job, but you are not going to go wait tables because technically you're not allowed to. You don't have the right. You don't have the right to actually physically work here. That's an interesting scenario. I will say that I think there might be somebody on the Welcome Stamp group who has switched employers.
Right.
And I will come down to the question. The question was, my new employer, I finished one job, I'm going to another job. My employer now wants to send me their setup equipment, computer, the laptop, the camera, all the whatever that goes along with their business. So you will have people who have switched jobs. You don't necessarily have to apply for another welcome stamp because you're already here.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. If your employer makes you redundant and you've lost income, you're technically not working. That's a really good question. I don't think anybody's going to ask. There's some things there. We talked about this before. There were some things on the welcome stamp where you find that government isn't asking for actual physical documentation of your bank account and your how you're paid and what you're paid every month to make up for that minimum amount of money that you should be making to actually work here, to be able to come here to do remote work. So it's again, little gray area.
It's a little gray area, but it is something that it's something that can happen and is happening quite a lot here in the UK at the moment. People are losing their jobs, and that literally happens overnight, and there's no sort of warning in that respect. Let me ask you something a little bit different here, which has actually come up. It's just that several persons have asked several times about the Barbados Welcome Stamp group itself on Facebook, and who's it managed by? Is it the Barbados government?
The group that we have is actually driven by private sector initiative. It was started really, to give people information, not as the government. The guidelines that we follow really, the questions and answers, just like we're doing today, these questions and answers, I couldn't answer these questions if it weren't for what the government information has given to me to be able to answer. So I'm making sure that the people on our group, the beauty about our group is that, and there really are, to be honest with you, we are a Barbados Welcome Stamp group. There are expat groups. There are travel advisor groups, copious amounts of different things for Barbados and probably other countries as well in that regard.
Yeah, so we're trying to pull it all together.
We're trying to pull it all together.
We're trying to pull it all together. And that also leaves me that if anyone is out there and they feel that they would like to come onto the show and do an interview with us, they can actually get in touch with us and share their knowledge and their information with us as well in this area as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the group is good because it's full. We have locals and we have Barbadians, and we have visitors who are here on the welcome stamp. We actually have some long stay visitors as well that are on the group, and everybody's able to, we're able to give and receive information. We have businesses who are on the group, from real estate people to people who deal with attractions on the island. I do need to make it understood that we actually don't allow for direct marketing. So we ask that you do not, we ask the businesses who are online, the real estate people, the attraction people, the restaurants, etc., that they not actually post, come to my restaurant, or here's a property that I want to have you rent. That we're not a buy-sell group. So we don't want it to turn into that. But if you see somebody asking for 2-bedroom apartment in Whole Town, sure, you have one, post it in the comments. What's the best restaurant? Serves fish. Well, lots of them. Put that information, your choice, put that in the comment section of that particular. So we're not governed by government. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're
wonderful one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
By ourselves. But I think that what you said there about making that comment. So let's keep it active. Let's keep it live. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep interacting with each other. And that's really, really, really quite important, because that really does lead me on to my next question. And I don't really mean that. It does lead me on to the next thing, is in terms of accommodation, because this is something which is in the back of my mind. You know, do you apply for the accommodation before you come out, or do you apply when you are actually in Barbados itself?
So I think a lot of people what they're actually doing is they're two different types of people. I want to know what the apartment looks like. I want to know where it is. I want to be comfortable in the knowledge that when I arrive in Barbados and I have met my new government protocols for arrivals, which we'll get into in a minute, as soon as I'm given my right to leave that initial quarantine section, that I can go straight into the apartment. That the apartment is going to have everything I want in it, and I'm going to be close to the sea and all of that. You, however, may decide that what you want to do is you want to come to Barbados. You want to rent a place for a month, 15 days, something, which you might end up in an Airbnb accommodation, or maybe in a apartment style hotel setup, which we may or may not have that type of thing here. Or just simply in a hotel. There's 2 of you. You'll hang out in a hotel on the beach for a couple of weeks, maybe a month. Let's see how it goes. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to, once I've again gotten out of my quarantine from arrivals, I'm going to contact some local real estate people and rental agencies, and I'm going to do the requisite. Let me go look at places to stay. I must tell you that it took me 5 years to find my house.
And you're happy now, are you?
20,
happy where you are?
23 and a half years, yes.
Wow. Wow.
In this particular location. So yes. Yeah. But there's people, it really is kind of what you're wanting as far as accommodation goes. And we have it, you can spend a boatload of money, or you can spend next to nothing. You can have a fully furnished place. You can ask. There's several tiers. If you're looking for completely unfurnished, I'm not sure that we actually do completely unfurnished rentals. When they say a semi-furnished, you're Barbados, like Barbadians, and I don't know if this is an English throwback, but they call it white furniture. Have you ever heard of white furniture?
Yeah, yeah.
It's your stove, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, maybe. You know, that those most houses come with those items, but may not come. A fully furnished apartment obviously is going to be more money. A semi-furnished with just those things, you might be able to convince the landlord to find you a bed and a dresser and a TV, you know, etc.
Okay.
So those are things. Those are things to consider. And there are people who I'm only going to come for 2 months. Should only be getting a furnished location. Somebody that's coming for a year, take the furnished location for maybe a month. There are also suggestions again on the group, so I'm going to refer back to the wonderfulness of the people on the group.
I was going to say, let's encourage people that if they have any queries or anything about accommodations, just post it into the group. That is the best way, because it's so active, and then somebody will pick up on it and actually respond to it to you as well. But bearing in mind, as you were saying before, the way you're going to be looking at promotion and advertising, that has to be sensitively done as well. So you know, but I would suggest that anyone who is considering the Barbados welcome stamp, if they sort of put in their criteria or what they're looking for, something will come up. Somebody will respond on the Facebook page as well, and that's quite a good useful tool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Let's see now, because I'm thinking I've put you under the spotlight for so long here, and I think you know, talk about putting you under the spotlight. You know, I know I'm not in Barbados, but you've had some new. The Prime Minister there has actually put on new restrictions, and he's introducing a curfew coming in soon. What's the curfew from 7 o'clock to?
The current curfew, which we've had for a number of weeks now, is I believe 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. The new one, yesterday we got a nice little press conference from our Prime Minister, Mia Moore-Motley, regarding new things that are coming, directives and things that are coming into play. And we are coming into a 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. Curfew. It basically means everybody off the streets, people in your homes. There will be a certain members of the population that will need to be. We've done this before, Annette. We did this back in March, April, May, and beyond last year when this all started. I would just go on a limb here and say we as a family, my husband and his brother have fishing boats. They own several fishing boats, and right now, then the fish market was open. Our boats are out there catching fish. You know, they're out for a week or so at a time. When they come in, those fish have to be offloaded, so you have to be in the complex to do that. And he had the right to be on the road. Really, in what I would say is that this particular the original lockdown was really a lockdown. We couldn't leave our curtilage, which was a word I'm pretty sure many people didn't understand or knew what it was. It's just really the boundary of your garden. And if you have one. But there are people that work in security firms and people that work in the grocery stores and you know, government officials that have to be out, the police, the fire, water, electric, you know, Barbados Power and Light. Those people are allowed by their work badges. They will have set employment information. You know, so giving that example, my husband and his brother were allowed to go to the fishing complex in Bridgetown to manage their property there. That's part and parcel of it. Funny enough, they're closing down I don't think they're going to reopen them. But again, on the 3rd, there's a lot more right now between now and the 3rd of February. They're asking people to stay home. Just it's not mandated. We can move about because we need to between now and then. But come then, if you want to go somewhere, you better be in that scope of people who are technically, quote unquote, allowed to be out.
But what I find is really, really quite good about the Barbados welcome stamps is that we're trying to be flexible. And when these changes are happening, we will actually reflect them on the Barbados welcome stamp. We will, we will try and keep you up to speed, up to date with what's actually going on, and also, hopefully, sort of support people here in Barbados as well.
It's a difficult thing, and that for people, there's people actually online now who are saying, am I making this right decision? Whether it's to come for the welcome stamp or just to come, should I actually be coming? Have I made the completely wrong decision? Really, it's up to you, but we're kind of all in this together. The government has imposed much tighter curfew restrictions, or they're actually not tighter than what they were before. But there are many people who are here now that were not here before, so they're not aware of what we went through. Part of the reason, and it has to be understood, we now have cases of community spread. We'll not get into the World Health Organization and Pan American Health Organization definitions between community spread and what do they call it? Transmission, local transmission. Right now, we just have community spread. That means it's out there in the community. Somebody may have it and not really know where they got it from. That's the bottom line.
Right.
And so what the government is doing is saying, we need for you to stay home. We need for you to not be all over the place. And so that we can get a better handle on how this is now. It's quite interesting. You wouldn't have heard it last night. You might want to, if you haven't, this is to you, Annette, and to anybody else, you might want to find the Barbados Government Information Service pages and find the video of her speech last night and listen. Pretty well impassioned speech. We lost 3 Barbadians yesterday or day before. This is not good. Considering we've been pretty good at keeping a lid on this for a while. And what they've done in a nutshell is that by keeping people home, they are also going to be going out in teams, going into the communities and kind of going address by address and checking on people. The elderly, anyone who is at home, making sure that you don't have symptoms. If you have symptoms, they're going to be doing a rapid antigen test. Which we've recently got in Barbados, so that they can see who has, and we can be better organized at our people. Now, I had this conversation with a friend of mine in Raleigh, North Carolina, just a couple of hours ago, and I said, let's just say we have 280,000 people. We have 300 polling or voting districts on the island. And for example, I know where my husband and my family and we vote in one particular spot. And so they're going to use that spot to then move out into the community. Everybody on that is registered, and everybody that's not registered who lives next door is going to be checked by someone. Now, you can't do that. That's 280,000 people they want to get through. You can't do that in, for example, Raleigh, North Carolina, or London.
No.
Or Edinburgh.
No. It's a totally different approach, isn't it? It's a totally different approach which you're taking in Barbados. And, we just have to work with what the direction is. And I think again, you are hopefully translating that sort of information on the Barbados welcome stamp and actually feeding that through as well.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously people are coming from different areas, different sort of mindsets and restrictions, you know, kind of thing, and they need to be able to be aware of where you are. So I'm going to start winding this up now and say to those who are listening and those who are around, thank you very much for listening to this Barbados Welcome Stamp live this evening today. And I hope you've got something from it. And if you would like to let us know, just please do go onto Facebook and comment and let us know what you think of this interview. But for the moment, thank you very much indeed, and thank you.